One conversation, three perspectives, honest debate on the stories shaping the travel industry.
Each episode tackles a live issue, big trend, or hot debate from across the travel industry.
Every week, we'll be joined by guests for honest conversations, strong opinions, and lively debate.
I'm Will.
I'm James.
I'm Andy. Welcome to Let's Talk Travel.
Big travel brands have been using loyalty schemes for decades to try and keep customers coming back and locking out competitors. For some travellers, gaming loyalty programs is almost an obsession, as shown in the film Up in the Air with George Clooney back in 2009. But with many companies offering so many loyalty programs, are they now just expensive gimmicks and maybe losing revenue unnecessarily? And if more people join for exclusive benefits, how exclusive are they really? Most importantly, I guess, do they change consumer behaviour at all? Do travellers book differently because they have a loyalty scheme? And in a world where AI knows all and potentially controls all, will loyalty even exist? If the machine is being pushed to promote the highest paying advertisers, what then? Will users bypass machine outputs, or will travellers become even more locked in over time? Let's talk loyalty in travel. Right, so hello, Will. James is on holiday today, and I believe you're on holiday, but here we are doing our podcast because some people work really hard, don't they?
I'm devoted to the cause, Andy. I'm here. I'm with my family in Spain, and this is what it's all about. We're talking travel, and travel never sleeps.
Absolutely. So today we're talking loyalty, question mark, in travel.
Yep.
It's a subject that comes up year after year at conferences, and it feels like maybe every other year loyalty is dead, or maybe loyalty is here to stay. If I was running a loyalty scheme right now, I'd maybe consider the value that it brings, because it could just be seen as a very expensive overhead. And some loyalty schemes are even charging customers to be part of them, which makes it very complicated. Some are charging, some are cutting back. Obviously, the data should tell the story as to whether this is having a positive influence on travellers or not. Some substantial research has been shown that loyalty schemes can change user behavior, but largely at top tier loyalty scheme level. And they can also increase revenue for various hotels and travel airline brands. But does that really deliver bottom line profit? And does it really help the loyalty program owner in their overall performance? User behaviors also start to change. We're looking at loyalty in a world where more research is being done by AI, and more is being controlled by big tech. So what happens to loyalty then? Rather interesting, I think TUI, one of the largest operators in the UK, have just launched their own loyalty program called Smiles only a couple of months ago. Will this become a very good program for them, or perhaps something like Ryanair, which had to abandon this loyalty scheme after only 8 months? There are so many parts of this picture, and that's why we want to dive into this topic today. So, Will, what do you think loyalty means to you, and how many loyalty schemes? Come on, let's fess up. How many loyalty schemes are you part of?
Oh, no. I'm probably part of 10 to 12 loyalty schemes through OTAs, airlines, hotel brands, everything. And that doesn't mean I'm active in them. And I think that's part of the problem. So how can anyone that has got 10 or 12 loyalty programs say they are loyal to something? I think this is a complete misnomer. And when you're talking about Ryanair and you're talking about the Smiles program with TUI, are we actually talking about loyalty, or are we talking about ancillary revenue and a way to try and make that ancillary revenue? And I think there's a real probably confusion, misnaming, and yeah, I just think it's confusion more than anything else in the industry of what loyalty is, because I'm very clear on what loyalty is, and that loyalty is going back to that same brand, and to your point in the introduction, making a buying decision based on the brand that you are loyal with.
So would you say they're more incentive schemes then, perhaps, rather than loyalty schemes? Is that the way you think they should be termed in a sort of wider travel context?
I mean, look, personally, I don't use them that way. They're not necessarily an incentive to me. I'm opportunistic in terms of how I use them. I'd say I'm loyal to a credit card brand or a payments brand, and I think that's probably becoming more prevalent. So we have American Express cards through work. I have an Avios, sorry, credit card, and they obviously get me points that I can then choose to use, obviously, for buying flights with BA, buying flights with other Avios carriers, other places where Avios are used, and likewise with Amex, converting those points into numerous different brands and affixing them to my loyalty program. But that's opportunism. That is literally using those points. I think certainly from what I'm hearing, you're seeing less and less of that scenario, unless you're always flying the same route where you're devoted to BA, for instance. Other airlines are available, but you're always buying from that brand because you want to build up your status. You want to get that, free upgrade. That's not where it was, 5, 10 years ago. BA, as an example, have obviously changed their loyalty scheme, as have many other airlines, and I think that's moved on.
Yeah, I mean, looking at someone like Marriott, I mean, one of the biggest loyalty schemes in the whole of the US and maybe in the world. Last year, they put on 43 million users into the program, taking the total to 271 million. That is going to your point. Like, once I've got the scheme, once I've got the card, once I've got the login, I'm going to book more rooms through it. Perhaps Bonvoy members generated 68% of all room bookings from Marriott last year globally, and in the US, 75% of all room bookings. So it's almost like now, if you're a Marriott customer in the US and even globally, you're just going to book because you've got the card. So is the card or the scheme driving the booking, or would I have bloody done it anyway? It's impressive numbers, and definitely those figures are very substantial. Maybe you are one of them, Will, but it's not really been shown to necessarily drive more revenue for them or more bookings in terms of, well, okay, the numbers are big, but for them particularly, it's not necessarily cause and effect. It's, an overlap perhaps. So do you really believe that for something like Marriott or others, those people are genuinely getting a deal or a discount? Obviously, you're getting your points and you're getting your free stays, but someone is paying somewhere. It's not like a free thing they're doing as a nice gesture. That's all built into the models, right?
Yeah, but change to the alternative. Do I think it's loyalty? Absolutely not. In the same way, I've got a Marriott Bonvoy membership, I've got a Hilton Honors membership, I've got a Hyatt membership, I've got an IHG membership, and depending on where I'm going, what event I'm at, what holiday I'm on, hopefully, I will choose to get the best deal, and even then, I'll still look and see if I can get a better deal through an OTA. And I think it is a little bit misleading, because what the loyalty program is ultimately giving you is a potential discount against a rack rate available online. Potentially, it's a comparable rate to what you can buy from an OTA. So rather than the hotel, and the hotel is a classic space, and we've got some episodes coming up on this, but rather than the hotel paying an OTA 30 to 40% distribution, they're actually reducing their cost for this membership and this loyalty. But this word is so confusing because it's not loyalty. It's opportunism. it's marketing. And I think that's really sad. In fact, I was having this conversation with someone in the industry last week before, talking about hotel loyalty again. And they said, I used to be a membership of a hotel loyalty scheme. And I'm not going to say who it was, but I get nothing from my loyalty. There is no faster check-in. Yes, there might be a different queue, but the hotel check-in is still completely messed up. There is no my card's on file, so I can do all of these things. The key access on your phone never works, or at least I've never got it to work. This person never got it to work. So what am I actually getting for being part of this? I'm just getting a different means of distribution for that hotel or airline or whatever it may be. That is not loyalty.
But could I counter that then and say maybe you and your colleague, whoever they were, you are in the travel sector, you are traveling perhaps more than the average person, and so therefore you're going to need to have more tools at your armory. I know people, and even myself, like I end up booking on hotels.com because I have an account with them, and it makes it easier to check out on when I go through the process. I am sometimes given a discounted rate because I've got an account, and I have also enjoyed free stays through my loyalty to one particular provider. They are, an OTA of sorts, but I have become more loyal to them because I do know that there's some carrot they are going to dangle, and I'm going to book through them again and again. So to say that people are going to multitask across 15 things, perhaps they will. I don't know what the average number of loyalty schemes a person signs up for, but let's take the TUI example, right? If you're going to book your family holiday, you're probably going to book through TUI, and maybe you're going to look at Jet2 and having a Smiles account with them, having booked in 2026 on a late offer or a late deal. Again, as we've talked about in the podcast before, might mean that I then go back to them in 27 because I get a free upgrade, or I get a free kids club, or a free meal. So I think there is really good value to some of these schemes, as long as they're not abused and people take the mickey out of them, I guess. So I can see some value in these things for sure.
But if I'm going on a TUI holiday, then I probably would take it as an advantage to do that, in the same way that Ryanair tried to do it, in terms of, if you fly in a certain number of times, then there is value to that. But is that honestly driving a sales purchase? Is that honestly, because I've suddenly signed it to Smiles, and look, I'll be honest, I've not even looked into the details. I've not yet decided I want to go on a TUI holiday. I'll probably sign up just before I decide that I want to. That's how fickle I am. But is that actually driving a decision? I don't believe it is. I believe that you are shopping around and you are looking. Well, it depends what type of person you are, and we're going to move on to talk about AI. But it depends on how that shopping decision is being made. I am someone, whether it's work, whether it's pleasure, I will look around for a deal. So I will go to an OTA, I'll look on booking.com, I'll look at Expedia, I'll look at what I can get through frequent flyer miles, and then potentially move miles from one bank or the other to utilize those, because I'm tight. I want to find that deal. But this is what I mean. This is what it comes back to. This is not loyalty. Loyalty is something else. Loyalty is, and I'll give you your credit, because you mentioned this off camera before we started, but I fundamentally agree. Loyalty is the tour operator or other providers. I'm not limiting it to tour operator, but literally attracts a client, delivers a wonderful service, and then has other services in their arsenal, or other destinations in their arsenal, that you go, I had such a wonderful time with that tour operator. I'm going to go back. And maybe it's not every year, because maybe it's not the expenditure I'm making every year, but every 2 years or every 5 years, or every time I have a big family celebration and we're going away, I'm going back to that tour operator because they looked after us and they delivered. That is loyalty.
And it is. And maybe we're slightly agreeing that there's a slightly different meaning to the word loyalty. Either you had a great experience and you feel emotionally connected, or you're going to be trusting them, I guess, ultimately to go back next year, versus the loyalty of, I'm going to book with the same company again because I'm going to save 5% off a room, per night. I mean, going on from like the madness of this situation, we look at loyalty schemes. I mentioned Up in the Air, which I thought was a fantastic film, but
love that film. Yeah,
it shows the ludicrous nature of how some people are gaming the system. And then if you look at the US again, just in terms of, they've got far more scale than the UK, and they are far more loyalty driven in some ways. But in 2023, 1% of US GDP went through Dallas Amex cards, where people were just using any opportunity they could to put money on a card to then get various discounts, flights, credits, whatever. United Airlines last year, I think, had a loyalty scheme valued at $22 billion, while the company itself was only valued at 10. And there's some great articles that went around a couple of years ago that showed that, again, the madness of the loyalty, let's call them loyalty schemes in the US for flight companies. And again, this is probably across the globe, where they are more focused on getting the kickbacks from the credit card companies, the points that they may give to people that then never get used, rather than actually making money from bloody flying planes. So this is a world that has probably got far too complicated, and someone like yourself, I guess, are just taking advantage of that. So again, if you were looking at this from a cold financial perspective, is the loyalty scheme really worth it? Are these points so valued and so sought after that they're a currency of themselves? I mean, where do you sort of stand on the ludicrousness of all of this situation?
Well, I think it's ludicrous. Funny that we use that in the same sentence as America. But I don't think we have American listeners, so hopefully I haven't ostracized them straight off the bat.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. We're expanding. Look, I think you're talking about different things, and that's part of the problem, because from a business traveler perspective, and certainly in the US, where you're talking about certain routes, the connectivity, aeroplanes are pretty much like buses over there, and you quoted up in the air. I think he was he American Airlines? Can't remember who he's loyal to. Maybe United, whoever it may be. If you're flying certain routes, then that connectivity, that loyalty makes sense. If you then get a credit card issued by that airline, then that makes sense. In Europe, it's far more, disjointed in terms of that operation. Even if you go with someone like BA, does that really suit in terms of short haul routes, connectivity to some of the destinations that you want to go to? And I think there's a different mindset over here. As I say, I think you talked about the valuation, you talked about all this value in loyalty programs and earning points here and there. I'm still not overly convinced it's attached to the travel brand and it's massively driving business that way for the general traveler. For the business traveler, yes. But then if you talk about an airline issuing a credit card, and as I said, I've got a BA Avios card, have I chosen that? That's not necessarily because of BA. That's because I needed a credit card. They gave it to me. Again, I'm fickle. I have multiple other credit cards. So I might choose how I spend and what I do at any one time. We need to rename it. It's not loyalty programs. It's opportunistic discounts, which isn't very catchy, but something along those lines. Because I honestly see that's where the reality of it sitting.
Well, you heard it here first, everybody. This is the new name for this type of
discounts. Yeah, yeah.
But I would maybe counter that, because I would think about people in my world who are not necessarily in the travel sector. They do book holidays, they do book weekends away, and they will just go straight on their card they've got from somewhere, or Martin Lewis is promoted because it's some sort of great thing for getting Avios points one weekend. Once you're in the Avios world, you do get heavily marketed to from those guys, or it could be someone else, but they do their best to try and lock you in and make you quite loyal, because once they've got you in there, then it's in their interest to make sure you don't have 3 or 4 or 5 other ones. So I don't know how savvy some of the general public are with their purchasing behavior, but my belief would be, perhaps we do this a follow-up episode at some point, because I know there are companies that specialize in loyalty and travel, that those people, once they have the 2 or maybe have 2 or 3 a maximum, but they are going to be trying to maximize their card, their credit, and that may be opportunity to get, as I say, a free night away for their family. If I just stick to this card, if I just stick to this company, I am going to achieve that. So I do believe that loyalty, or the exclusive discounts, whatever you want to call it, can really vary depending on the audience you're targeting. And someone like yourself is maybe a bit of an outlier versus what I would say that a normal traveler who does 2 or 3 trips per year. So I think we can agree that the points bit has gone a bit mad, but I think maybe case by case could definitely have some value. What about in the world of AI, though? If you listen to some of the people at the travel conferences who talk a lot about AI,
is that going to be a thing, Andy? I don't know. I've heard of it.
I mean, there's a lot of talk about it, but I mean, some people believe, and I've met some of these people, that you're going to do everything through your AI. And AI agents are going to pick out the best deals. They're going to know the loyalty brand you're with, and they're just going to book everything in their background. I think that's total pish, because as you've just said, you're going to look around on other OTAs just to make sure you've got the best price. You are going to look on your loyalty scheme. You're just going to go direct sometimes, because those guys still offer things. So what do we think about loyalty? Is it going to become harder in a world with AI interfaces, AI agents, where they know the schemes you're on, they know who you've booked with before, and they're just going to keep throwing those loyalty options at you? Or will AI potentially scan the whole market and go, do you know what, don't worry, bloody Bonvoy, I've got this great option open over here and you need to pick that one? What do we think? What's your belief about where this is going to go for loyalty particularly?
Well, in my opportunistic discount scheme, I think AI is going to play into that exactly, because surely the whole point is, and what hopefully you would challenge your LMM or however you're searching to do, is actually go find me the best deal, irrespective of the memberships I've got. I can tell it I've got Bonvoy, I can tell it I've got Virgin, I can tell it I've got Avios. Find me the best deal for this. And then if it is booked through one of these schemes, then fantastic. If it's not, I think people will be driven by price. And I think you mentioned the sort of Avios program before, and they've been very effective at what they do. But I do think it, and maybe this is loyalty, but it does make some people blinkered in terms of I've earned these points, I've got to spend them, and that's not necessarily the best deal. And that's exactly what Avios and the other programs want, obviously. But I think AI, well, my belief is that AI will actually have the opposite effect, which is it will scan the market, as you said, and it will tell you that if you want to go to that hotel or buy that package on those dates, then the best deal is here. And it will store your habits. It will know what memberships and loyalty programs and opportunistic discount schemes you're tied to. And it will say, well, if you book through Bonvoy, it will be cheaper on this, but next time if you book through Expedia, it'll be cheaper on that, or it'll be cheaper to book direct. And that's where I question whether loyalty will actually fade in the way that people think about loyalty, and will struggle with AI.
But I think if we use your ODS methodology, if you like, then I think these companies like Marriott and Hilton, whoever, they must be thinking about AI all the time, right? So no wonder Marriott put 43 million members through their books last year, because they want to capture all of those individual people now before the AI starts up. And my belief, again, to counter you, is, or not necessarily a belief, but one of the things I think could definitely happen is they're going to be more direct, they're going to be more pushy, and they're going to want to put themselves as the number one option of, you've got this card, you've got these points, come to us direct because we can give you the best offer. Like, bugger the AI, because the AI doesn't know the offer that we can give you. And so I think the loyalty schemes could potentially have more weight if they are really attractive enough and the discounts are enough. Because as you say, if they don't push the deals direct to their members, they're going to lose 20, 30, 40% either through OTAs or potentially AI, because the model that OpenAI are trying to adopt is commission only. So we won't charge you for pay-per-click, Mr. Expedia or whoever it is. We're just going to charge you every booking that you generate. So they may look at the maths of it and go, let's focus on our loyal members. They're going to book more, they're going to spend more. And if we push our offer through them, through our app or whatever, our email, we're going to cut the AI out. So I think you could see a complete counter to the world you've just painted.
And I actually agree with you on that, but not in the current way it's being done. And I think, you quoted the number of members that Marriott Bonvoy have signed up. It's free to sign up. I would suggest that most people, when they go and stay at Marriott for whatever reason, probably do sign up, and you're persuaded to sign up. It doesn't cost you anything. There you go. And then you're on the mailing list, and then you play into your world, which is the marketing and the distribution. So then it's about, what am I actually giving these customers to make it worthwhile? And I go back to my friend who I was talking to before. It's like, this membership, this loyalty has got to mean something that I can't get somewhere else. And it can't just be a price, because I put it to you that a lot of the times it's cheaper to book through an OTA and easier. The customer experience, the payment journey is just easier. So it's that value add, it's that little bit extra that you get. You can check in on your phone. You can have all your payment details stored so you can seamlessly run all of your, hotel stay expenditure in one place and, easily check out. You can have a key on your phone that you automatically get and it works. Give me that. That changes loyalty. That changes distribution. And if there is a Marriott in town, that makes a real difference.
Yeah. And I think we're in a world where everything's become very commoditized, be it flights or hotels or experiences. So I could book through one of 15 different places. It's just that little nudge of, actually, that's really easy to use, or I get an extra thing on top, which again, I hope these schemes can maybe lean into as we go through. And perhaps we sort of talk about the strangeness of the situation we're in at the moment, whether it's our ODS is actually loyalty or not. I mean, some of these schemes are being they've been tried, they've been failed. You know, the Ryanair one we've talked about. I think they worked out they generated 4.5 million in revenue and they lost 6 million in a couple of months or 6 months. They've been that off. Obviously, BA have tried to roll back some of the perks they offer. Again, they haven't been able to do that. So again, it costs them more money. Do we feel like, in terms of, just to try and finish the conversation, that loyalty is too expensive, or maybe we're looking at it the wrong way? Like, well, this loyalty schemes can cost millions and millions and millions of pounds. To your point earlier on, and the one we talked about, is maybe loyalty is just earned through trust, great service, and then, you know, being reputable company. So where do we feel like loyalty?
Let me put it to you though. Why did Ryanair fail? I mean, why do you think the Ryanair scheme failed?
Because people took the piss with it. Ultimately, they realised that it was a good deal and that Ryanair didn't charge enough for the loyalty scheme, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. And those people, but those people were already flying Ryanair. They'd already done the math. That wasn't forcing consumer behaviour. That was literally just an opportunistic way to make more money for these businesses. That was more ancillary revenue, which, you know, I applaud for trying, but that is not loyalty. And so I think we really need to come back to what to do to drive consumer behavior. And consumer behavior increasingly, and again, we did it on the Late Show, is driven by a deal at the moment. We're in a deals market. So we have people like Will Plummer who signs up to everything because hopefully he can find the best deal. I think there will be a drive through AI where you will search for the best deal. But then there will be the flip side, and probably playing into exactly your point, this side of the market where being loyal to a brand will actually mean something, but there's got to be differentiation. Offering me a credit card from a airline or a hotel means absolutely nothing. Genuinely, you know, I might sign up to it. I might sign up to multiple. Again, that's not loyalty.
So one of the things I talk about is, you know, the way a lot of people buy travel, through lots of research done over many years, is through recommendation. You know, they don't go to a machine first. They say, "Oh, you're in Spain. Well, where did you stay? Was the place really good? What was the town like? Oh, okay, that sounds really interesting. We might go there next year." So travel companies overlook the power of word of mouth, and they overlook the power of good customer service. And I think, you know, for me, loyalty can come through really understanding your customer, delivering fantastic experience, and that then will seed itself in the customer mind to A, to come back, and B, to tell their friends. I've got someone that works on my team. They're going on big family holidays and they always go with Jet2 because they know that Jet2 have got people on the ground in all these locations. They're going to be looked after. If anything goes wrong, things will get fixed. And that creates a loyalty in itself that isn't necessarily on the spreadsheet, isn't in a database, but it's in someone's mind. And sometimes I worry that some of these things become so commoditized that as a human experience that travel is, we just think we can commoditize and quantify everything in a spreadsheet, in the way that you're trying to do with some free money, rather than brands that are like Audley, who've built themselves on reputation, trust, good customer service. That's created a loyalty in itself that is very hard to measure. And some of these schemes, I feel, are just a bit of a waste of time or a pointless exercise, because you say it's become table stakes rather than anything is actually creating any change of behavior.
Yeah, 100% agree. And many years ago, I was a tour operator, and we used to look at and we used to ask our competitors and people we work with, you know, what does your repeat business look like as a percentage? Because your repeat business is your easiest business to win. You shouldn't be spending, or you shouldn't need to spend any marketing dollars on that repeat customer. You should have given them such a good service that they cannot forget how good you were, and they will keep coming back. They will recommend you to friends, and they are the first name for a holiday of that type on their lips when they're planning a holiday or when they're recommending to friends. That's loyalty.
And I think maybe we're going to finish the conversation agreeing on loyalty in that respect is definitely the right word to use in terms of the financialization, if you want, of loyalty in another world. I think you know, there's definitely some conversation to be had about things could definitely be improved as we talk about. But maybe we should wrap up there. I think we've had a good throw of the ball of this back to each other. We will have James back at some point if he decides to return to work and put some shifts in. But for now, Will, really enjoyed the chat. Thank you very much. And we'll be here for future episodes, of course.
Cheers, Andy.
Thanks to our sponsor, Travel Zoo, the club for travel enthusiasts. Join Travel Zoo today for hand-picked deals exclusively for members.
So that was another episode of Let's Talk Travel. Guess the question for you, listener, or anyone watching, is how much do you value loyalty in the world of travel? Do you stay loyal to brands? What affects your motivations and booking behaviour? We'd love to have any questions and comments. So please leave them if you're watching on YouTube. Please leave us a comment. If you are listening on a podcast, please rate us. Or again, sometimes you can leave a question or a comment. Or just find Will, find myself on LinkedIn, connect with us and send us any thoughts that you may have, because we'd love to hear them. Until next time, thank you very much for listening and watching to Let's Talk Travel. We will see you very soon.